My friends, welcome. The food wars have gone hot. Very hot. And by that, I don't just mean the spontaneous combustion of farms and poultry operations and food warehouses and grain elevators and sugar refineries and distribution centers and meatpacking facilities and the port of Beirut and so on and so forth. Indeed, in the last 24 hours, the entire alternative media and even Tucker in the mainstream media are talking about this. There's an explosion of awareness of the fact that our food supply is under relentless attack, that there is a manufactured situation going on, an engineered food shortage ahead. Indeed, when I talked about this in this report, Food Supply Spontaneously Combusting, back in 2020, many people dismissed it as a conspiracy theory. After all, it was only a 2 Sigma event back then. That's why I created this map, the Food Supply Incident Map, to try and keep track of all of these things. And indeed, some of these events are still impacting us today, over 2 years later. I'll pull some of those up tonight briefly. But now that it's a 3 Sigma event, meaning off the charts, nearly impossible, statistically, from an actuary standpoint, no rational person would conclude that there is not something going on, that these are not deliberate attacks on our food supply, not to mention the fact that there are people at work who have the means, motive, and opportunity to damage our food supply in order to take control over it. Everyone is finally getting the picture. Now, all of these explosions don't even mention the fact that there are hundreds of millions of chickens being killed in the name of PCR tests for a bird flu that no one can prove exists, or the fact that Union Pacific has cut off shipments of fertilizer, or any of the other terrible policy decisions that have limited agriculture's ability to produce food that we've talked about here on the Ice Age Farmer channel. And indeed, the FBI just today warned that even more attacks would be coming to food production, now in the form of the cyber pandemic that Klaus Schwab promised, with ransomware attacks upon grain elevators and other facilities that would cripple production during the critical planting and harvest seasons. And we'll talk about that too, but again, we are under attack, and everyone knows it now. And so the question is, how do we respond? And in that regard, and I think most important tonight, we've just seen what could easily be dismissed as one chicken farmer somewhere doing something crazy, but what in my view is a seismic shift in the awareness of this food attack on our planet. And that is this: the chicken sale heard round the world. When the state of New York, like 28 other states, and other nations for that matter, announced a ban on the sale of live birds, Clucking Ridge Farms responded, No, we will not comply. Their reasoning is quite simple. We cannot run our farm without selling our poultry. That's what we do. What you're talking about as biosecurity precautions actually translates in reality to shut down your operation, and we will not do that. Now, this is a major milestone. It marks, in my view, the first divergence from the mainstream food supply, which is being taken over by the technocrats and reshaped, and in emerging what they will call black market of food. People who will not comply with this takeover. Because feeding your family is a basic human right. Raising animals, whether for meat or for manure to feed your garden, is a basic human right. These are inalienable rights. You cannot sell them, though they are certainly trying. I've covered before the government in the Netherlands trying to buy pig rights from farmers, bribe them effectively with $700,000 for the sale of the right to ever raise pigs ever again, which basically means they're making it illegal to raise animals, right? I've covered this before in a report entitled Criminalization of Raising Animals, as the Dutch are selling pig rights. But again, this is expected, and even last week we saw the World Economic Forum come together to talk more about how we're going to reshape agricultural systems, create zero emissions food systems, which of course means a zero animal economy. That's why they also call it a post-animal economy. And now we are witnessing them execute on that agenda through these contrived bird flu scams and pig rights, all of these things, just like the warehouse fires that everyone is talking about right now, are abundantly clearly a takeover of human food production. And I think now everyone sees it, which also means now they're going into hyperdrive. And so now we all must work together to reboot a decentralized, regenerative food system. And that's where we are now, folks. Welcome. I'm Christian, and this is the Ice Age Farmer broadcast.